You give an AI coding agent a feature to implement, and it starts working through the code base. It reads the files, plans the steps, and starts implementing. It even writes its own tests. All tests passed, task complete. But look at what those tests actually check. A result exists. A mock was called. A value has the right type. Everything looks verified, but would you ship this in production? Why does this still feel unsafe? Agents are good enough now to do real work, but that does not mean they will get it right on their own. So the question is, how do you make their work reliable? That's harness engineering, control, context, and checks, and that's what this video is about. Let's break those down. Control, what the agent is allowed to touch and where it runs. Context, what it sees and how much of that is actually useful. And checks, what has to be true before the work counts. Let's start with control. In the last video, we said a raw model is like a junior developer with root access and no code review. Control is how you take that away. Every task gets its own environment, fresh machine, scoped credentials. The agent does its work inside the box, nothing that touches production. External checks run. The agent can't skip them. And when it's done, the whole environment is destroyed. Nothing persists. Nothing carries forward. Stripe's Minions team runs this at production scale. 1,300 pull requests a week, everyone in its own disposable environment. You can only let agents work at that scale when a wrong move can't hurt anything. Here's the key thing to differentiate control from just regular prompting. Prompting says, please don't. Control says, you can't. Now let's talk about context, what the agent sees. When it comes to context, more is not better. The right context is better. Without guidance, the agent explores on its own. It pulls in files that look relevant but aren't, and then it makes decisions based on the wrong examples. Only a handful of files actually matter for this task. Everything else isn't just wasted space, it's actively misleading. This is context pollution. The wrong files don't just take up tokens, they cause wrong decisions. So how do you give the agent the right context? One pattern is progressive disclosure. Instead of loading everything up front, you let the agent pull in context as it needs it. Let's see an example. Here's a skills catalog available to the agent. Each entry has a name and a short description. The full content isn't loaded yet, just the descriptions. If the agent needs to verify its work, it scans the descriptions and selects the one that matches. Only now does the full skill file load, steps, references, configuration. All the depth was there, but the agent didn't need it until this moment. The other pattern is ambient context. Context the agent should always have before any specific task begins. Without that orientation, the agent guesses. It runs the wrong test command because nothing told it the project uses a different one. Same agent, same repo. But now there's a small file loaded at the start. Right command, test pass. This is the entire file, 5 or 6 lines, and the agent reads all of it every turn. It doesn't add complexity. It removes bad decisions. So you've got two patterns now, and they're opposites. Progressive disclosure, capabilities the agent might need, loaded when the task calls for them. But ambient context, rules that shape every decision, those are present before the task begins. Same agent, same project, two different loading strategies because the information is fundamentally different. And finally, checks. What has to be true before the work counts. Why not let the agents write its own tests? Same reason why you don't let a student grade their own exams. Agent writes a bunch of tests, all pass, you get verification theater. Now make the agent run tests were written by someone who already knew what correct looks like. Edge cases, real scenarios, what the real world messiness looks like. The agent fails against a real standard. Has to go back and fix it, and only then does it pass. Independent verification changes the outcome completely. So what does good agentic verification look like? You make it go through an independent pre-completion gate. The spec is a domain expert who knew what the output had to be. The linter is the team's conventions. The required checks are the CI pipeline. And the retry threshold, that's the system designer saying if you've tried this 5 times, you're stuck. Just stop and escalate. The agent isn't being graded by its own rules. It's being graded by the people who know what good looks like, even though they're not in the room. The writer doesn't grade the exam, the system does. That's checks. So we have covered control, context, checks. Once those are in place, a harder set of questions opens up. What exactly should the agent build? How do you decompose the work? How should it reason through the task? What's the right level of autonomy? And how do you decide what correct actually means when the output is complex? That's where the next part of this series goes. See you there.